Hi everyone, we continue our series on visualization, and in this video we're going to look at several examples from Black's perspective. If you want to get the bonus exercise, make sure to watch this video till the end. Also, if you are for the first time here, don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell to be notified about the new content of Chessfactor. In this first exercise, which can be considered a warm-up exercise, we may notice that Black has a queen against two rooks, but at the same time Black has a lot of extra pawns here, so Black is definitely dominating. But the most interesting part happens if White tries to regain some of the missing material with the help of rook takes d6. Imagine rook takes d6. Now try to find the best continuation for Black. If you feel like you need more time, you can pause the video and then restart whenever you feel like ready. So after rook d6, Black plays queen to c1. White responds with the king to f2. Imagine this position as clearly as possible and try to find Black's best move. And it is queen to f4. Try to understand why it is winning for Black. And we're going to look at this on the board. So after rook to d6, White puts the rook on the pretty vulnerable position where it is not protected, and Black is just using it by checking the king from c1. And now the king has only two squares. They are f2 and h2, and if king goes to f2, there is just queen f4, check, and the attack against the rook. So when the king goes away somewhere, queen simply captures the rook. That's a completely winning position for Black. Same happens if the king goes to h2 after this check. So queen again goes to f4 with the similar double attack. Let's have a look at the other example. Here is our next position. Black to move. And if you want to use this one as a regular exercise, feel free to stop the video and restart it whenever you feel like you have a solution. And we're going to start the visualization training. Black plays h1, promoting the pawn to queen. White responds with the queen takes queen. Black's next move is queen to b1, check. Now, what happens if White plays bishop to c1? What is Black's best continuation? Now come back in your mind to the position right after queen to b1 check. And make a move king takes the rook on e2. What is White's best continuation here? It is queen to h1. Imagine this position as clearly as possible and try to explain why it is winning for Black. And let's have a look at what happens in this example. So the first move is h1 queen, check, and simultaneously the attack against opponent's queen, so queen takes h1 is pretty much forced. Now the next move is queen to b1 check. The first question was what happens if there is bishop to c1, and clearly the best continuation is queen to c2 with a nice checkmate. So after queen to b1, king captures e2 is the best move. where after queen takes queen on h1, and now black has a decisive material advantage, so the queen against rook and the bishop, and simultaneously with that, black has two connected passers, so should be an easily winning position for black. By the way, this h1 move is probably not the best one, so queen to f1 may be considered a better continuation. But nevertheless, I think it was a good exercise for visualization. And now let's get to the next exercise. So here is our next position. Black is to move. And again, if you want to use it as a regular exercise, just stop the video, solve it, and restart the video whenever you feel you are ready. So black is to move. We can see that white has a queen against the rook and the bishop. So black has a so-called Lasker compensation. And this is probably a bit more than a compensation, because we can notice that white's king is in a pretty dangerous situation. So black starts with the rook to g2 check. White responds with the only move, king to h1. Here's the first question. Why rook takes g3 is a bad move? Now get back to the previous position right after rook to g2 check and king to h1. And we continue with the main line. It is bishop to c6. White responds with a rook to f8. Black takes the rook. The next question. What is going to happen here if white plays h4? Imagine the position as clearly as you can and try to respond. Now get back to the previous position, which arises after moves rook g2 check, king to h1, bishop to c6, rook f8 check, and king to f8. White plays queen to f1. Imagine this position and try to find the best move for black. Now let's have a look at the solution on the board. So black starts with the rook to g2 check, forcing the king to h1, and it's clear that now black has to use this battery on the long diagonal. But for now, the bishop is under attack, so it's not so simple. For example, if black captures on g3 here, which is playable, but it's not good because white can take that bishop, and white is still in the game. And it's not so clear if black will be able to achieve anything. All right. So instead of doing that, black made a much better move, which is bishop to c6, keeping the bishop on this long diagonal and now making it invulnerable and not really accessible for white's pieces. So now black has different threats based on rook moving somewhere, and it will be a discovered check. So white decided to take on f8. After king takes f8, another question was what happens if white plays h4? It is an attempt to create some additional room for the king. So after h4, there is no checkmate, but black may win a queen easily. In this case, it is possible after, for example, the move rook to g3. If you found something like rook to d2, which is also check, and the simultaneous attack against the queen, you're also right. It also works. Now to the main line, it is queen to f1. And now the best move is obviously rook to f2, because it is simultaneously the attack against the queen, check, and the defense of own king. So for example, if you thought that there would be something like rook to g3, you were wrong, because in this position it's an illegal move. So rook to f2 is the only one which is correct here and which wins for black. I hope you found these exercises useful. If you had problems with visualization, no questions, well, it can happen. Just repeat these exercises as many times as possible before you feel comfortable with imagining the position clearly. Now let's get to the bonus exercise. So the board is empty, which means your task will be not only to solve the exercise, but also to imagine the starting position. So white pieces. King is on e1, pawn is on h6. Black pieces. King is on e3. One pawn is on d3. And another one is on e4. Black is to move, and your task is to find the best continuation and to understand the evaluation of this position. Share your solution in the comments below. I wish you good luck and see you in other videos.